Well, Kim Jong-un made a statement that Joe Biden is a low IQ individual. He probably is, based on his record. I think I agree with him on that.
Throughout history, the world has witnessed a parade of powerful figures whose influence extended far beyond the political stage. Today, we'll explore some of the minds that shaped history's most defining moments. Join us as we count down the smartest world leaders to ever hold power. Dr. Bacharuddin Jusuf Habibie.
Hello, congratulations. It's very good to see you.
Indonesia's third president, Dr. Bacharuddin Jusuf Habibie, stands in a category few have ever reached. With an estimated IQ of 200, Habibie wasn't just a politician, he was a bona fide engineer and scientist whose intellect revolutionized both aviation and governance. Before his brief presidency, from 1998 to 99, he built a career as one of the leading minds in aeronautical engineering, serving as a key figure in Germany's aerospace industry. His scientific background shaped his pragmatic approach to leadership, emphasizing innovation and technological development in a country that had long lagged behind industrially. Habibie's presidency came at a turbulent time. Indonesia was recovering from the fall of Suharto's authoritarian regime, and the nation was fractured by economic instability and social unrest. Rather than rule with fear, Habibie sought to liberalize Indonesia's politics and press, opening the door to democratic reform. He repealed oppressive laws, allowed political parties to flourish, and supported freedom of speech, transformative moves that, ironically, paved the way for his own defeat in the next election. Despite serving only a year, his legacy remains that of a modernizer. His engineering mind valued systems, efficiency, and empirical solutions, qualities that helped Indonesia take its first steps towards democracy. His influence is still studied by Indonesian intellectuals who regard him as the architect of their nation's transition to freedom. William Pitt the Younger.
And yet here was a man who was Chancellor of the Exchequer at the age of 23, who was Prime Minister at the age of 24, having twice refused to take office as Prime Minister before the age of 24, who was Prime Minister for 19 years in total. And who, even when he died in office as Prime Minister, after 19 years, was still younger than all but 2 of his 38 successors to date as Prime Minister, even when they entered office as Prime Minister. Here is a man who restored the finances of the nation and its navy and its fortunes and respect after the terrible defeats of the American War of Independence.
Long before boy geniuses became a trope in modern storytelling, William Pitt the Younger lived it. Taking office as Britain's Prime Minister at only 24, he remains the youngest in history to ever hold the post. With an IQ estimated at 190, he combined a razor-sharp intellect and an unflappable sense of duty. His era was one of chaos. Britain was navigating the aftermath of the American Revolution while facing the growing storm of the French Revolution abroad. Pitt's education was as intense as his career. A student of classical languages and economics, he demonstrated brilliance early on, entering Cambridge at 14 and mastering parliamentary procedure with unnerving ease. He earned the respect of King George III, who saw in him a stabilizing figure for an empire in flux. Pitt's mastery of fiscal reform was especially notable. He reorganized taxation and implemented measures that laid the foundation for Britain's financial dominance in the 19th century. However, his genius came at a personal cost. Critics described him as solitary and austere, with few close friends and a relentless focus on duty. His policies, though effective, often leaned towards conservatism, and his struggles with alcoholism reflected the immense pressures of leading a nation on the brink of war. Benjamin Netanyahu.
Iran's rulers promised to destroy my country, murder my people, and the response from this body, the response from nearly every one of the governments represented here, has been absolutely nothing. Utter silence. Deafening silence.
Few contemporary figures demonstrate raw political intelligence quite like Benjamin Netanyahu. With an estimated IQ of 180, he's one of the longest-serving prime ministers in Israel's history, known for his ability to navigate both domestic and international crises with remarkable calculation. His background in military service, he was a member of Israel's elite special forces, gave him first-hand insight into the realities of security and conflict, shaping his pragmatic yet often controversial leadership style. John Quincy Adams. John Quincy Adams was, by every account, a scholar born into the political arena. The son of America's second president, Adams had an estimated IQ of 168, and he spoke multiple languages before most students his age mastered one. He began his diplomatic career as a teenager, serving as secretary to his father during missions abroad, and by adulthood he had already earned the admiration of Europe's elite as one of America's most capable negotiators. As president from 1825 to 1829, Adams faced fierce opposition from political rivals, but his intellect remained his defining feature. He advocated for infrastructure, education, and the arts, overseeing the need for national growth far beyond agriculture. His, quote, "always vote for principle, though you may vote alone," reflects the moral clarity that guided his decisions, even when unpopular. After his presidency, Adams continued serving the public as a congressman, something almost unheard of for a former president. Benjamin Disraeli. Benjamin Disraeli, the first Earl of Beaconsfield, stands as one of the most brilliant minds to ever serve the UK. With an IQ reportedly around 165, Disraeli was not just a statesman but also a novelist, philosopher, and reformer who helped shape the identity of modern conservatism. Under Queen Victoria, he served 2 terms as Prime Minister and redefined Britain's imperial image with a blend of intellect and charisma that few could match. Disraeli's genius lay in his understanding of power and image. A master of rhetoric, he knew how to turn language into persuasion, often outwitting political adversaries with wit and eloquence. His policies expanded the British Empire's influence and introduced reforms aimed at improving social conditions, bridging the gap between the ruling elite and the working class. Despite facing prejudice as a man of Jewish heritage in Victorian England, Disraeli used his intellect to win both the Queen's favor and the respect of Parliament. His ability to combine romantic nationalism with pragmatic policy made him one of the most complex political figures of the 19th century. Sven Olof Joachim Palme. Sweden's Olof Palme, with an estimated IQ of 156, represented the intellectual heart of European social democracy. Serving 2 terms as prime minister, he combined high intellect with moral passion, crafting policies that emphasized equality, peace, and global responsibility. His leadership during the Cold War era was marked by outspokenness. He condemned both U.S. involvement in Vietnam and Soviet aggression, earning international respect and enemies alike. Palme's intelligence was grounded in empathy. Educated at Kenyon College in the United States, he was influenced by both Western liberalism and the Swedish welfare model. His speeches demonstrated a command of logic and persuasion, connecting complex ideas to ordinary citizens. He believed that intelligence should serve humanity, not self-interest, a conviction that defined his government's social reforms. Tragically, his assassination in 1986 shocked the world, but his intellectual and moral legacy continues to shape Scandinavian politics. Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson, author of the Declaration of Independence, embodied Enlightenment rationality in political form. With an estimated IQ of 153, Jefferson was more than a politician. He was a philosopher, inventor, linguist, and architect. His curiosity knew no bounds, extending from natural science to law, agriculture, and theology. As America's 3rd president, his intelligence defined his vision of a nation rooted in liberty and education. He founded the University of Virginia, designed his own home at Monticello, and maintained extensive correspondence with European intellectuals. Yet his contradictions remain subjects of debate. While he wrote of equality, he owned enslaved people and was rumored to have fathered children with Sally Hemings, one of his slaves. John F. Kennedy.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
John F. Kennedy's IQ of 150 places him among the upper tier of intellectual leaders, but it was his wit, eloquence, and cool composure that truly defined his intelligence. As America's youngest elected president, Kennedy steered the nation through one of the most dangerous standoffs in history, the Cuban Missile Crisis, using a delicate mix of diplomacy and resolve to prevent nuclear war. Educated at Harvard, his sharp analytical mind made him a natural communicator. His speeches, crafted with literary grace, reflected both intellect and idealism. He inspired a generation to view politics not as cynicism, but as service, famously declaring that citizens should ask what they could do for their country. Bill Clinton.
Most people are working harder for less money than they were making 10 years ago. It is because we are in the grip of a failed economic theory. And this decision you're about to make better be about what kind of economic theory you want. Not just people saying, I want to go fix it, but what are we going to do? What I think we have to do is invest in American jobs, American education, control American health care costs, and bring the American people together again.
Bill Clinton, with an IQ of 148, exemplified the cerebral modern leader. A Rhodes Scholar at Oxford and graduate of Yale Law School, he brought intellectual vigor to the presidency from 1993 to 2001. He possessed a photographic memory and a capacity to absorb and recall intricate details, which made him formidable in debate and negotiation. His policies reflected a pragmatic intelligence that balanced idealism with realism. He presided over one of America's longest economic expansions, reduced national debt, and navigated complex international relations in an era of globalization. Now it's time to hear from you. Which of these leaders do you think used their intelligence most effectively? Let us know in the comments section below.